I had a lot of fun making the Fallout 4 list video about the biggest mysteries that I thought I'd do a sort of continuation of that with more in-depth analysis of the questions. So here are my answers to the biggest Fallout mysteries. Where is the Enclave? This is one of the more biased questions because I really want the Enclave to make an appearance in one of the later installments of the Fallout franchise. I really think the Enclave could be in Alaska with the habits of the organization. It likes to build its base in very remote, secluded areas, which is basically Alaska. The remaining fossil fuels on Earth are in Alaska, which would give it a very strong military and government presence, which is another foundation of the Enclave. And that would make sense that they're not in Boston because it was all the way on the East Coast, and the war started on the West Coast, meaning more troops and more government would be on the West Coast, giving it more of an enclave presence. I think that the enclave could be in any of the 12 Commonwealths that haven't been explored by the Fallout franchise, as well as Alaska and Hawaii. As long as the lore says that they were on the government watch, then I think that the Enclave could be recuperating in that area, and it could be explored in a possible next Fallout installment with a big comeback. What is the ties between the Enclave and the Institute? I already listed some of the ways the Enclave and the Institute are similar, but I really want to focus on the MIT. As already stated, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology is a government-owned facility and is one of the most prestige and advanced schools in America, with a lot of big discoveries and breakthroughs made. It seems like a very important asset the remains of the US government want to have on their side, and could even be behind the technological marvel that is XO1 power armor. With the Enclave being tied to the Institute, it would seem like there'd be a more heavy Enclave presence in the Massachusetts Commonwealth, but with the damage of communications in the Enclave organization and the obvious military strength of the Institute, it would seem very unlikely that even with an attack on the CIT by the Brotherhood of Steel, the Enclave would be able to respond. What is the tie between the Enclave and NUKAWORLD? It is very obvious that the Enclave has a strong presence in the NUKAWORLD DLC, with an almost excessive number of XO1 power armor suits around, and even being utilized by the locals. But why? To someone who skips over holodisks and notes, it would seem like a coincidence, but upon the ending of the fetch quest for Sierra Petrovita, the owner of the Nuka-Cola Museum back in the Capital Wasteland, it is revealed that NUKAWORLD was being used by the military to develop chemical warfare using the chemists behind Nuka-Cola. If the military held onto the location and continued to develop weaponry, the Enclave could have used the pre-existing scientific equipment, fortified location, and military links to make a base from the remains of the theme park. One of the more baffling questions is why did they leave the location, and why did they leave the XO1 quantum power armor behind? They may have left due to the unsuccessful search for the weapons being developed in the area and the not-so-secluded fort for an organization based on secrecy and stealth. As for the power armor, it may have been radioactive to humans due to the isotopes used in production of Nuka Quantum. Therefore, they sealed it off in a display case as sort of a quarantine and maybe used the robots in the galactic zone for security, and never bothered to get it when they left. What is Adam? Adam is a very hard subject to talk about because of the limited facts in the lore and the supernatural tendencies. I'm going to leave this one up to interpretation if it is a real god, pure coincidence, or something in between. What's the deal with the fog from Far Harbor? For the sake of time, I'll stick to my theory about the Enclave and less about the Trappers. In all of Fallout, the Enclave has a big part in the franchise with a very remarkable absence in Fallout 4. Saying so, there are a lot of ties to the organization, like the XO1 power armor being left around the Commonwealth and NUKAWORLD, but none bigger than the actual member of the Enclave becoming the leader of the biggest, strongest Children of Adam base in the Fallout franchise besides Megaton. I think the Enclave is in Far Harbor and has been upping the amount of fog in the same way as Mount Weather from the 100, where they utilize radioactive fog to keep away the outsiders. as the Fog's recent overactivity could be the reason the trappers are going insane. The Enclave could also be controlling Dima, the leader of the synth colony, as well as the rest of the members of the synth colony, as a way of controlling the forces of the island. That could explain why Dima is very insistent in overseeing the events of the island, and why Chase, a courser with very little free will, has given up her sole protocol to hunt synths and join the resistance. And why marine combat armor is not seen anywhere else in the franchise. It could be the Enclave compensating for a lack of materials with a more primitive take on their incredibly strong power armor. And it makes sense to give it to the Children of Adam since they are potentially under the control of the Enclave. There you have it, my answers for the 5 Fallout mysteries. I like making these list videos with the knowledge I have of the Fallout franchise, and I think I might make more of them. So yeah.